So this is part 3 of restoring, or what I can now call restoring, a Hofner archtop guitar. So I found there were only 3 tuners on it and they were unbranded. So I found a set of what will fit with a little bit of extending the holes for the ferrules. These are Grovers, vintage style Grovers. So I have 6 of those brand new. I've tended to buy things like that as I've come across them over the years, knowing full well that they'll come in useful. So the bridge, I'm making a bridge. Having watched Ken Parker's Archtoppery series of lectures and demonstrations, I became convinced that his idea of a non-adjustable bridge sounding better may well be right, and also partly for the fun of it, I'm making a bridge. I'm going to plane the top of this piece of oak into just a simple slanted dome-topped bridge, and that's the only compensation I'm going to put in the first instance. Great, the sound of water trickling down from the apartment above. I think it's inside a pipe though, so I'm not so worried. Okay, now I'm getting less convinced that it's oak. Anyway, it could be, I suppose it could be walnut. We're getting there. I'm not filming the actual planing because I need 2 hands for the plane, and I'm holding the phone in one hand. Okay, I think that's far enough as far as the planing goes. And the rest is going to be down to filing and sanding. Because it's going to be non-adjustable, then it has to be the right height first time. So now I'm going to just loosely assemble it under the 3 strings that I have on this Hofner. So the bridge that's on is just one bought from a shop and is exactly the right height. So if I now take this out, I can trial this roughed out all wood non-adjustable bridge. It's too high, which is great. If it was too low, that would be a problem and I would have to start shimming, putting in shims. Let's get it roughly in the right place. I'm slightly worried about the vulnerability of these tongs of wood here, which the F-holes make weaker than the rest of the top. Anyway, let's see what we've got. Needs to come that way a bit. Okay, so that's this half-built bridge, loosely assembled at the right intonation point. So that's what it's going to look like. Well, it will be slimmed down a bit more, but even now I can tell this sounds better than this one did. It's not quite such a thin sound. It's got more bass, more resonance. I'll just demonstrate what I mean by that. More mellow, definitely. The point that Ken Parker makes in his video is that the way the strings are excited, it's not like a violin. They're not vibrating side to side from a bow. They're vibrating up and down, and so this bridge is pumping vibrations in the vertical direction into the top. So he thinks they should be stiff and light. So this is both of those, and can be lighter because I'm going to take more wood away. But yes. Just to say a bit more about the design of the bridge after watching the Ken Parker demonstrations. A violin or cello or whatever bridge is a thin slice of wood, very thin slice of wood but it's quite wide, so it straddles the top of the violin, but the contact it makes is two quite thin lines straight on top of the sound post, which is inside. And a string excited by a bow is going to have a lot of vectors like this, vectors of excitation, of vibration, and so something that straddles quite a lot of the top with a couple of line contacts is going to drive the top. But a guitar string going up and down and sort of whipping around like a skipping rope needs more than just to be able to straddle in the one dimension. And so, to expand on what Parker was saying, he didn't say this explicitly, but it needs to have some width where it sits on the top in order to give enough leverage from this kind of rocking impulse, if you like, as well as up and down, to have enough leverage. Yeah, leverage is the word. A very skinny bridge is going to struggle to transmit that kind of motion much to the soundboard. Okay, I'll shut up now. Huge amount of clamping for one small bridge. We'll take the clamps off this bridge and see how it looks. So I've used araldite, the 2-pack glue, to attach to the top a bridge saddle from an acoustic made of tusk or some similar plastic material. That's given me a little bit of extra height, which I needed because I've now put a bit of a radius on the top, and I'm going to take off a concave radius from the bottom as I fit it to the guitar top. So I don't really want to appear myself on camera much today. I'm feeling seedy and not very... My sleep pattern's been disrupted, and I've been up since 4:30 AM. Just couldn't sleep. It happens now and then, maybe once or twice a year. Anyway, here's the bridge, shaped to almost as far as I'm prepared to go. I'm not going to go as far as Ken Parker as to drilling holes and then hollowing the whole thing out with a Dremel. That hole just happened to be in this piece of wood. But I have shaped the underneath into something of a curve using a chair back. But now I'm going to do that on the guitar in the approved fashion by sitting a piece of sandpaper on the guitar in the place where the bridge will be, taping it down with some low tack painter's tape, And when I've done that, I'll then show you what I'm going to do exactly. Almost there. I've changed the sandpaper once and I've now got a fresh pile of dust here. Yeah, I'm going to call that done. Okay, I'm happy with that. It doesn't rock. For most of the length I can't see any gaps underneath, so we've got great contact for how many centimetres? Like 10 centimetres? No more. 12 centimetres of very close contact between the two surfaces, and then maybe a centimetre at each end where there's a bit of a gap, but I can live with that. And in fact I might just trim the bridge down. It doesn't need to be as wide as it is in this dimension. In this dimension it's a bit over wide. Okay, good enough. Now I've taken the strings up to tension. I'm going to intonate it quickly again. Okay. And we'll just have a quick listen to the tone. So with my thumb, I'm going to say that's the end of this part of this restoration series of videos on this Hofner. I still don't know what model it is. The people on the Hofner forum on Facebook are a strange lot. We'll see if we can get an answer soon.